Blowed up real good. Can you see what's happened here? I think you can. Okay. So the tire is completely off the rim, and what caused that? Well, smart homeowner me used an air compressor with a built-in pressure gauge to pump up the tire for the coming snow. And it was going real well until the tire got about double that size and then went bang and blew the entire tire off of the rim. Turns out the tire has an 8-pound pressure maximum, and I had it up to probably 50 or 60. So live and learn. So how do we fix that? Well, we call a Honda dealer, and he says, oh gee, they made different models of tires that year. You might have to buy 2 of them, and they're like $150 each. So instead, I went to the store because Gavin told me all I needed was one of these. Now, Princess Auto has them. Maybe Canadian Tire, Home Depot. It's an inner tube. I think it was like $12. So what we're going to do is take the wheel off, install the tube, and then put it back. By the way, this device, if you haven't seen one, is what you want. It's one of those plug-in cigarette lighter compressors, except and you push the button and it puts exactly 8.0 in the tire in little tiny puffs, so you can't possibly do that. So first thing we're going to do is get the tube inside that tire and cut off the valve stem there, like a regular car valve stem. It's a tubeless tire. We're going to cut that off so that the okay, so on the axle there's a cotter pin going through the hub and comes out the other side somewhere, and the first thing we do is straighten that out with a pair of pliers, and then using a pair of side cutters gently we pull the butt. We just straighten it a little bit and then gently do that. Just squeeze enough to take a little bite and then rotate the pliers against the axle, and out comes the cotter pin. And then you wiggle this pin there, and you drop that down, and then you quickly go get something to hold the machine up in the air. There we go. So there's the valve stem. We're going to cut that off, and we're going to tuck the tube inside and fish the valve stem out through that hole. So we'll take our side cutters, which might be too small, and we want to cut that off. And there you have it. Doesn't matter what it looks like. And the rest that's there, you're just going to push through. And there you have it. A nice empty hole. So the new tubed valve stem is going to come through that hole, and you're going to get that little piece out of there and get rid of it. So there we go. We got the 2 pieces out, and the tire's ready to go. Let's get the tube. So there's the tube, and you'll find that the valve stem is fastened on one side or the other of the center of the tube, because the valve stem, of course, is on one side. And orient it so that you can imagine it going into the hole. Now this part is two-hand work, and it's pretty obvious what you do. We're going to stuff that tube in and get the valve stem coming out that hole. So I've started it, and what you do, put a mark on the side of the tire. Now I just wet my finger and put a mark on there right opposite the hole so that you can constantly make sure that the valve stem is in the area of the hole, because it's going to get buried behind that rim and you might lose it. So it's just a matter of doing this stuffing action, which I can do better with two hands. So I'm going to come back when it's stuffed. Okay, so it's looking a bit more like normal. What we're going to do is push the tire over the rim. Now, when you blow up the rim, or sorry, when you blow up the bead on the tire, this bead gets very, very stretchy, and it's not much of a problem at all to push it on. So you'll start on one side, you'll push the rubber down, and then work your way around, and pretty soon it'll be on. Okay, so here I've pushed it down with two hands, and then I'm keeping my left thumb down because I'm just going to hold the right side and keep pushing down with the left side all the way around, and it'll pop on. It gets easier after the halfway point. As you push it on, make sure that the part of the bead that's down inside. Okay, so when you're right near the end, what you have is two thumbs, one on either side of that, and you just push harder, and that little straight, what looks to be a straight paste, is going to go floop over the edge. And again, down here, if that stays like that against the fat part of the rim, it's not going to work as easy. So you're going to push down on this. In my case it was a 14 by 4 by 6. Sorry, my mistake. 14 by 4-6. So I went with a 15 6-6. So the tube is maybe half an inch too big, but it doesn't matter. It's, you know, we're not going on the highway. And instead of a, and we do have the 6-inch rim. That's the big numbers, the 6 at the tail end there. That means that the rim is 6 inches in diameter. You don't want that to be 5 or 4 or something stupid. But you can be a little bit bigger on the diameter and a little bit wider on the width, and it'll work fine. Put it back on. Have the machine fall over on you. Then you want to line up the hole. And you get it approximated like that. And then I'm going to put the pin in and just wiggle until the pin drops. And that's it. We're going to go reinsert the cotter pin and put a little bend in it, and we're done. There we go. Take one side or the other, give it a little bend. Again, we're not going on the highway, so we don't care. And then I've got this handy dandy quick release jack, which means you put a piece of wood over, turn the key on, put it on choke, pull the handle. I point out that you should turn the key on because that's what I forget. I always forget to turn the key on. Okay, again, here's how to do it yourself, or call Gavin, have one of his guys do it. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, you can comment or thumbs up or whatever you feel like doing. Bye-bye. Well, there we go. Very simple. The Honda manual says we need 1.1 liters of 5W30 oil, and we have to stick it into the engine through the filler, which is tricky because it's not as easy as that looks. Looks like you just pour the measuring cup in and away you go. First problem is, how do you measure 1.1 liters? Well, I had one of these things to measure you know, gas and oil for two-stroke engine, and it says it's 0.946 liters, so it's not big enough. So what do? How do we measure 1.1 liters when we have nothing that's graduated in tenths of a liter and is more than 1 liter? Well, you go to your kitchen. Now here you see everything you need to change your oil on a Honda HS928. You need the manual, you need the oil, 5W30, anyone will do. You don't have to buy special Honda oil. Honda doesn't manufacture oil, they buy it and put their name on it. You're going to need a funnel. The piece that's going to drive your wife nuts, is a scale in grams, and there it's 2.13 kilograms. So that's full of water, so we know it's going to hold at least 1.1 liters of oil, because oil is lighter than water. So here we go. Let's pour out the water and dry it out and come back. Okay. So we've got a nice dry container, and we've got a scale that's turned off, and we have to tare it. In other words, weigh the container and make it the scale read 0. And we do that by putting it on and then turning the power on. And then you'll find the scale registers 0, even though it's got some weight on it. So now we just pour in the weight of oil that is the equivalent of 1.1 liters. This is for when you don't have everything correct. All right, so we're going to start pouring oil in up until we hit the 1.1 liters by volume, whatever that weight is. All we have to do now is take our oil, and knowing that we need 962 grams, we pour oil into the container slowly until we get to 962, which is not going to hurt an engine at all. In fact, it's probably a little bit of burning that it'll do, and by the end of the season it'll be exactly 962. So now all we do is take that oil. So as you can tell, I've got a nice, safe, solid way of holding the machine up in the air. I mean, that's not going to move, is it? And if your wife's around yelling at you about the container, you just get her to hold the machine steady, and it's not going to go anywhere. So all we have to do, theoretically, is take our funnel and stick it in the hole, and then slowly pour the oil in. Now, if you're smart, you'll put something underneath so you don't get your nice stonework all oily. No, that's not a commercial. That's what I'm using as an oil protective device. It's some old signage I got when I used to work for Molson's brewery, Molson Brewery, and that's going to catch the spills. So all we do, we're taking the top off our oil, is we're going to carefully pour it in there. Now, you can see what's going to happen. It's going to get all over the tire. So what you do is you take your trusty paper towel and you put that there, and then we start to pour. And of course I had to test that the paper towel was going to work, so I poured a little bit over the funnel. And we just keep pouring. You can stop every once in a while and let it catch up. You can stick it in deeper so it doesn't spill so much. It spills an awful lot. Always remember, a little bit of oil doesn't hurt on your machine because it's going to stop rust from forming quite as easily. You know, that's my theory anyway. So, it should be fine. Now, we've got our funnel, we've got our paper towel. We can take the funnel out, put it right on the paper towel real quick, and then we're not going to get any drips and drops while we move it away from the machine. So now, theoretically, if we put the dipstick back in, and if we put the machine back level again, we should have just the right amount. Now here's the beauty of this kind of stable stand, is you just put a little pressure on the machine and just kick that out of the way. And down it comes. Paper towel back. Undo your dipstick. Maybe not. Let's do that again. Stick it in. I was looking at the stick instead of the camera. Pull it out. And if it's dripping, you're good. If the oil's dripping, there's no need for more licking. There it is. Now we carefully move that back a bit. And we turn on the key. Now, by the way, a little trick. Down here in the Honda, there's a transmission release lever, which is wonderful because if you put it in the released position, you can move it around. The problem is you're going to forget you put it in the released position. You're going to start the engine, put it in gear, and nothing's going to happen. Come back, watch the video, and flip that lever back. Then laugh at yourself and continue on. So we turn the key on, which is my favorite problem. And being a Honda, it'll start on the first pull. Are you ready? Oh, my second biggest mistake is not putting it on choke. All Honda engines, motorcycles, every Honda motor I've ever tried to start is cold-blooded and needs a choke, even on a fairly warm day. Beautiful engine control on the Honda. Even though the engine's pretty cold, the throttle, and that's it. Hope you enjoyed how to refill the oil on your Honda snowblower.